everyone. Well, we're here on a nice day in Kansas City. They're having the Irish Fest, and I was lucky enough to run into a Nebraska Irish personality, you might say. And then again, we're going to have to ask her what the whole story is, but she's really become a force of her own, sort of a one-of-a-kind deal, and we're going to ask her to introduce herself and give us a little bit of her story. Then I'll pepper her with some questions. Go right ahead.
Hi, I'm Susan Ritta. I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska, and I'm the host of Thunder on the Plains, which is Nebraska's only local Celtic radio show. We're out of Lincoln, Nebraska on KZUM, which is 89.3 FM in Lincoln, but we also stream worldwide at kzum.org. My show airs twice a week. I'm live in the studio both times, Tuesday afternoons 1 to 2 p.m. and Sunday evenings 6 to 7 p.m. You can also find our 2-week archive of our most latest programming by going to kzum.org also.
Now, how did you get interested into anything Irish in the first place?
Yeah, because I'm not actually Irish at all. I don't have Irish heritage, very German, a little bit of Scottish on my mother's side.
You know the story about more Irish than the Irish themselves. That's what they said about the settlers in Ireland that came in and liked it so much that they became more Irish than the Irish themselves.
Oh, well, that works. I'll claim it.
Go right ahead.
When I was in college, my roommate and I, we were studying, and we had, for some reason, Riverdance was playing on the TV in our dorm room. And we both really loved Irish music and Celtic music. And we were sitting there studying, and one of us said to the other one day, "Wouldn't it be really cool to learn how to dance like this?" And the other one said, "Yeah, I wonder if there's anything like that in town." And so we went to Google and we popped in Irish Dance, Lincoln, Nebraska, and up popped the Lincoln Irish Dancers. And the Lincoln Irish Dancers are a Cayley group out of Lincoln, Nebraska, and they also did some step dancing lessons as well. And they were actually starting step dance lessons for the first time that year. So my friend and I, we signed up for Irish step dance lessons, and that was in the fall of 2004. And we did Irish dance, and I got into Irish music because I was also a musician, loved playing music and singing all through college. So I started getting into Irish music. And around that time, a person in the Irish music community who had been doing a Celtic music radio show on KZUM was retiring. And some of us got wind of that and thought, well, it'd be a shame if Celtic music went off the air in Lincoln. So we took it over, and we started trying to find ways to feature music that is more than just the traditional songs and ballads that you would think of, Clancy Brothers, the Chieftains, things like that. We were trying to bring it more modern twist on the Celtic music scene. And I started with that program in August of 2008. It was when I came on board with Thunder on the Plains, and I've been doing it for the past 9 years.
Now, is that your name, or was that the name when you moved into the slot?
The previous show was called Celtic Heartland, and I was not with the Thunder on the Plains when it first launched in November of 2007. But I was friends with the people who became those hosts, and then I stepped up to help with it in August of 2008. And those people decided that it wasn't their jam anymore, and I said, there's something very, very special about Celtic music on the radio. And so I stuck with it and been with it ever since. It's been great.
Can you describe a little bit about what you see, or how you find the Irish community in Lincoln, and then sort of compare it to the Irish community in Kansas City?
The Irish community in Lincoln is significantly smaller than the one in Kansas City, at least in terms of being active with Irish music and dance. That's not to say that it doesn't exist. There's a lot of support for the radio show, and I don't think that there are many other communities where a program like mine could be on the air for this long if there wasn't such a strong interest in Irish music. Sessions come and go in Lincoln. We try to start one up, it lasts for a couple years and it kind of fizzles, but there's always somebody who says to their other buddies who like Celtic music, "Hey, come to my house, Monday night and let's jam." And then, a half dozen people will show up and it'll be a grand time.
Is that mainly how the sessions go in the house rather than in a pub?
We're trying to get them set up formally, and for that we're looking at coffee houses and pubs to sponsor and host. That takes a little bit more organization, a little bit more time, and you have to convince the business to be on board for the long haul with that, to tell them that, yes, this is worthwhile to support Celtic heritage. But the rest of the time, it's usually just, until something long-term on the reg gets going. In the meantime, it's just people who feel like, hey, let's get together and just jam. So,
now let's compare that to coming down to Kansas City and checking out the Irish Fest each year.
The Irish Fest in Kansas City has kind of been my go-to fix for an Irish session. I started coming in 2008 to the Kansas City Irish Fest, and I can't come every year. It's, maybe every other year or so. But once I discovered the after-hour sessions at the hotels, I was hooked. And that is what I envision as like the height of an Irish session, is people from everywhere, from all different walks of life, coming together and playing all the same tunes, and people who are new to the music scene sitting on the fringes and listening really intently like I did when I first started, and that frankly I still do most of the time. Picking up the tunes by ear and jumping in as you learn a tune, and then maybe taking a few tunes home and practicing them over the ear, and then coming back and picking them up and finally getting to jam with these people that you idolized as musician heroes.
And what do you do? Do you use your voice? Do you use a whistle?
I started out with rhythm guitar, because that is, for me, if you can play rhythm guitar, that's a really good way to build up the sense of pattern and rhythm and vibe of an Irish music session. Now, as I've gotten more skilled, I've started to work on whistle and flute in the Irish session. I do sing, but for me, the big challenge is learning to play those melodies that are so intricate and so fast and can get really advanced, especially in terms of ornamentation and phrasing and breath control.
Yes.
So that's the big challenge for me, and I absolutely love it.
Do you sing in Irish?
I do not yet. I have one song that I sing in Scots Gaelic, but that's it.
Which one's that?
Hebride's Lullaby.
I don't know that. But
I picked that one up from the Bear McNeils. They have a Christmas album where they sing that song, and I fell in love with the tune. It's also known as the Christ Child Lullaby, and the version that I arranged, I made it a little easier for myself. So I do 2 verses in Scots Gaelic, and then I alternate that with its translated equivalent in English. So it'll be the verse in Gaelic, and then the English, and then the second verse in Gaelic, and the second verse in English. So
yes, I've tried some of that too. It gets a little confusing. You start forgetting which language you're singing in.
But it does make it a lot more accessible when you're first introducing that language to an audience. And for a community like Lincoln, who's very, very interested in the Celtic culture, but maybe could be a little intimidated, that's a great way to say, here's a beautiful song, and I'm not just going to sing it and have you just listen to it and have no idea what it says.
Yes.
So,
well, one song in Irish can be a lot of fun, but if you go far beyond that, people start saying, what?
Right,
what?
Right. It's a tough balance to strike between having that authenticity and challenging the listener to explore really in depth the Irish and the Celtic music and culture, and another thing to be so intimidating and so highbrow, to have people be like, well, I can't, this isn't accessible to me anymore. It's so above my knowledge base of what Irish and Celtic music is that I don't find it appealing because there's not an emotional connection I can make. And that's also a balance that I try to find with my show, is both the stuff that they love to hear, the classics, the popular songs that, I heard this, a month ago. I love hearing this song. It's my favorite song. And then the ones are like, I've never heard that before. Or ones that are, Irish songs in Irish, where you can say the song is about this, and then they can listen to it and have a new experience in the music without feeling like they have to that's all they're ever going to hear.
Oh yeah, that's right. How many years have you been doing the Irish music?
I've been doing the radio show for 9 years now.
How do you find, is there any description you can give, or perhaps it's impossible, of the Irish American culture? Do you get any insights into that?
How? In what way?
Well, just is there a difference between the Irish American culture and the American culture? What would it be? Is it an attitude, or is the music a defining point now? How do you find they accept you or don't accept you?
Honestly, I feel like I'm still on the edges of the Irish American culture because I don't have that, that genealogical heritage. There still almost feels like there's a bit of a removal, and I'm okay with that. I don't feel like I'm being rejected by anybody, by no means. But it's more of an observational thing. I read a lot of articles from Irish Central. I see a lot of organizations in the area, and I think that Lincoln is a very unique focal point for the coming together of cultures. We have one of the highest per capita populations of refugees. We're a national refugee city, Lincoln, Nebraska is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, for the low cost of living, the relatively low unemployment rate, for the relatively low crime rate in Lincoln, it's been a great place for the U.S. refugee program to settle refugees for the past 4 decades. And so when it comes to integration and immigrants and refugees, I feel like as a Lincolnite, there is almost a different perspective on what is an important topic and an important embrace of different cultures. The Lincoln Order of Hibernians is very, very new, the chapter of the Lincoln Order of Hibernians, and they have been amazing in how they've been reaching out to the refugee and immigrant communities in Lincoln. They're already doing fundraisers. There's not many of them in the Hibernians in Lincoln.
Yes, well, that's a very neat, because that's how they started up back 150 years ago,
right.
200 years ago. That's very good to hear.
Yeah, and I think sometimes that there is a reputation, frankly, of some Irish American organizations kind of sitting back on their druthers, like their ancestors worked their butts off to get here.
Yeah.
They suffered a lot of hardships and they rose above, and now they're reaping the benefits and they got theirs. And it's so refreshing to see and exciting to see this next generation of Irish Americans come forward and say and embrace that heritage and say, look what our ancestors had to fight with. Look what they had to overcome. These people who we live with day to day, who we may not see or we may not choose to see, are having the same impact, are going through the exact same things. We know in our blood and through our heritage what they had to go through. So we need to step up with what we have now to give to these people to help them have that also.
Now what about your heritage? Have you got 5 or 6 Irish lines on each side of the family, or what?
No. My maiden name is Eisenhower, and not the president's spelling. It's the good old German A-U-E-R, dang it. My father's side is very, very German. And we have all the copies of the papers when they came over the boat. Like, we can trace it back to the place in Germany and that sort of thing. So very, very German on that side. My mother was adopted, which is fine because my grandmother on that side, her maiden name is Buchanan. And of course, if you know the Scottish clan system, adoption is a big thing with that family. So I do claim Scottish ancestry on my grandmother's side.
Well, you got a lot of Buchanans in Northern Ireland too.
Oh, that's right. I think that my grandmother's side actually came from that OLaughlin, north of Glasgow area.
Yeah.
But yeah, Buchanans are everywhere. But yeah, no Irish. So, but I'd like to say that you don't need to bleed green to live green. So.
Yeah, that's right. And it's a matter of the soul. The soul and the heart, we've got to unite together and make it work.
Exactly.
Do you have any finishing thoughts you want to say about your operation and experiences?
I don't know. It's been a wild ride. There've been so many ups and downs throughout the the past 9 years, it's been a labor of love, and that does mean that there is some heartache with it too. It's an all volunteer gig that I do. I don't get paid for any of this that I do. I do it because I love it. And I find that when it comes to being by myself in Lincoln and doing the radio show and sometimes sitting at the board by myself day in and day out, week after week, sometimes it can get a little lonely. But when I come to festivals like the Kansas City Irish Fest, when I am helping to pump up and attend smaller festivals in the Nebraska area, because we have a large one, Greeley Irish Festival in Greeley, Nebraska, is celebrating its 11th year. When you see these small organizations and these clumps of Irish music and culture and heritage spring up, and you get to go there and you get to see all your friends, it's like this huge family reunion, and it is so rewarding to see all that hard work come to fruition in making that community and making those connections and knowing that what you're doing is helping to spread the love of Irish music and culture. And that really makes it all worthwhile.
Yes, I believe that's true. We're sure glad to see you out there because we hadn't heard much from Nebraska, and all of a sudden I heard about you and I thought, well, no, here's a mover and shaker for sure.
I do my best. I do my best.
And now, who you got with you here today?
Oh, the tables are turned. This is my husband, Andrew. You will never hear him on the air. You will never see him in pictures because he has been my rock and the anchor to my kite, and he holds down the fort when I'm running around all crazy and anxious.
So this is really an exclusive. This may be the only living pictures that have survived, important
when the apocalypse happens, this will be the only footage of the real rock and the anchor of Thunder on the Plains right here.
Here to carry stuff.
He carries,
yes,
and he does it very, very well.
Yeah,
I might add.
he does.
Well, good. I think that wraps it up. Unless you got something else to go over, we're going to put this on YouTube, and we'll see how this microphone worked out here outdoors.
Thank you so much, Mike, for inviting me here. I'm so glad to be back in Kansas City.
And who do you plan on interviewing this year if you get the chance?
A lot of people. We've got on the schedule so far Ashley Davis and Dave Curley. You're putting me on the spot here. Gerald Trimble, Christina and Quinn Bashand, Jig Jam hopefully later tonight. No, that Socks in the Frying Pan hopefully later tonight. Waiting on Jig Jam. I had like 12. We Banjo 3. Jonathan Ramsey. Oh, I can't wait to talk to him again. Oh yeah, and Kiernan. I'm going to chat with Kiernan again from Kaylee at the Crossroads. I can't wait.
Oh, good. Yeah, I had her on here.
I know.
Yeah,
she does like the whole Sean Nose thing and stuff.
Yeah, she did a very good interview, and we had her singing and dancing, and we go up to Weston a lot, and we have some little parties up there, little gatherings. You know?
Yeah, she's great. Yep, I did when I was still doing my Irish dancing days, I would do the brush dance too. So when they finally started integrating the brush dance and Sean Nose into their routines, I was like, yes, I love that.
Yes.
I love it.
And I kept saying, get the barrel dance, get one of them barrels.
Yes, that would be so. At least a half barrel. Come on.
Okay, it's been very good. Thanks for meeting with me down here at the River Key in Kansas City. This has been great. Sláinte.
We're going to do